I said, who's ready to learn some more about biology? Well, that's too bad, because you're not going to learn fuck all from this point on. Sorry. Yes, I'm a biologist, scientist, like everyone else here tonight. It's hard being a scientist. It's a tough life. I think a lot of people underestimate just how high pressure of a job it is. Academia is a real cutthroat world. See, someone over here knows what I'm talking about. You gotta earn respect. And in fact, just to get serious here for a moment, just to give some advice for anyone who's just, probably starting a PhD, probably a lot of people here are moving to a new department to start some research. It's really important that you forge an identity early on, carve a reputation. You do that by working hard, applying yourself, and just kicking the living shit out of someone on your very first day. Just go into the coffee room, take some scalding hot tea, chuck it in someone's face, and just fucking wail on them. Unprovoked, in front of a bunch of people, someone big, or someone imminent, like the head of your department maybe. You gotta send a message, or else you're just gonna be someone's bitch. I wish someone had told me that. What could go wrong, really? Yeah, it's tough being a scientist. The other thing that I notice is that you really overanalyze things. I think this is because you spend so much time at work trying to, work through problems, and you kind of take that home with you into your everyday life. And I know I do that. And it's gotten to the point where I can't even eat breakfast anymore without completely overanalyzing it, dissecting it, and totally ruining it. I try to eat eggs and toast, and that's like a stressful ordeal for me at this point. Because I like to have, a fried egg and toast, and you like to dip some of the toast in the eggs. But you like to keep some of the toast for later, so you can put some jam on it for like a nice little dessert. But it's a fine balance that whole time. You have to keep track of the toast to egg ratio as you're going along. And this is what I do. And as soon as my toast reserves start to drop below a critical toast threshold, I start to panic. I start to get heart palpitations. Like, what has happened? How did I get to this point? What have I done with my toast? Did those first two dips not take enough yolk? What's going on? Is there something I can learn from this for next time? Maybe it's just on it. Maybe it's not my fault. Maybe it's this fucking restaurant and they're non-absorbent toast. And that's usually when the waiter comes over and tells me that I'll have to stop yelling to myself. But yeah, this overthinking things, it's a real problem. I even ruin TV shows and movies for myself now. A lot of people probably do this, but I'm a science nerd, so you might think I like Star Trek, but no. I just look at it and I see, things like the holodeck. Which I should say, for those of you that don't spend most evenings alone in your basements with Doritos powder smeared on your face, masturbating to Sailor Moon porn, the holodeck is a room in the show where people can go in this room and they can have any environment or even other people so accurately simulated that you can't tell the difference between the simulation and reality. And I think there's no way that that could exist in real life, and not because of the technological limitations, that's probably fine, totally realistic. But because if that holodeck existed, the entire crew of the ship would spend all of their time in there getting laid. That's all they would be doing, virtually laid. Nothing would get done. Civilization would implode if the holodeck existed, let alone the Enterprise. Look at what humanity has done to the internet. The glorious internet is basically a porn repository at this point. Can you imagine if there was a room where people could go in and have totally realistic sex that's indistinguishable from the real thing? Klingons would be blasting the Enterprise to pieces, and Picard wouldn't care because he'd be in his 47th straight hour being blown by a simulated version of himself. Oh, yes, me. Make it so. Can you imagine Wesley Crusher, the kid on the show? A teenager with access to a holodeck? Can you imagine if you were that scene? I mean, he would barricade himself in there. You wouldn't be able to remove him. He would basically ejaculate himself to death over the course of several weeks. They'd kick down the door eventually and he'd be lying there in a pool of his own congealed semen. It's not that bad. But the thing about porn on the holodeck, if it's a thing, is that, you think you're having sex, but you're really just fucking in the air, I guess. Is that how it would work? Because there's nothing there, it's just a simulation. I like when they show the holodeck when it's off. It's just these nice clean walls in an empty room. Those things must be easy clean because they must just get coated in semen on a regular basis. Just drenched. You imagine Geordie LaForge, like nice sensitive Geordie on the show, nice guy. He goes in there for a nice simulated date with his simulated girlfriend, and they have a nice simulated candlelight dinner, and it's all very romantic. Then they make love, and he finishes off, and the program turns off, and it's really just him standing there with his pants around his ankles and a jizz stain on the wall. I mean, isn't there a drain in the center of the room? Does someone come in after and hose it down? And what about Worf, the Klingon? You imagine him in there? It must be just like a fire hose going off. It destroys the place. Takes weeks to clean up after. Rivers of Klingon semen. But yes, I'm a biologist. To go back to the biology theme. I'm actually a marine biologist. I study fish. People always kind of look a little bit disappointed when I tell them I'm a marine biologist, but that I study fish. I think a lot of people think that marine biologists all study whales and baby seals and all those sorts of things. I'm actually thinking of changing to whales, though. Not because I find them generally interesting, but I just want to see if a whale can get rabies. That'd be pretty fucking cool. Because rabies is a mammalian disease, but you never really see minke whales, going on like a crazy killing spree, killing a bunch of people in like a rabid rage. I guess they wouldn't really have much of a chance to get rabies. I mean, rabid raccoons and possums and things don't jump into the ocean to bite whales. It'd be pretty funny if they did. But maybe it's more common than we think. Actually, one of the reasons why that probably wouldn't happen is because rabies causes hydrophobia, kind of gives you an aversion to water. So that probably wouldn't happen. But when you really think about that, it all makes sense. Maybe that's why whales are always jumping out of the water. Maybe that's why they're beaching themselves. They're fucking crazy and they have rabies. Dolphins are like jumping along beside boats and people are like, oh, look at the majestic dolphins. They're so playful. It's like I'm one with them. Dolphins are like, I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker, I have rabies! That's in the dolphin language. Docs is like, it's true. It would really suck to be a baleen whale with rabies. Baleen whales don't have teeth. They just kind of filter their food. So it's like they can't even attack anything. The best they can do is just go really furiously filter some plankton. That'd just be really unsatisfying. Just filter the fuck out of it. Yeah, so I study fish. One of the things I'm interested in is fish schooling behavior. So people have all seen this in like David Attenborough documentaries, these fish schooling, these incredibly coordinated behaviors. And one of the things we found in our research is in these huge schools, one of the things that happens is that certain fish prefer to be at the front and others prefer to be at the back. This is really interesting from an evolutionary perspective because it suggests that some might be leading the others and affecting their welfare, perhaps leading them into a dangerous area to get more food. It's sort of like all it takes in a group of friends is for two drunk people to lead everyone else to the chip shop for dinner. I think I'd rather be the fish in that scenario, eaten alive by a predator instead of eating a king rib in a state anywhere near sober. But yeah, so schooling in general, though, is a good thing. Protects fish from predators, helps them find food. There are drawbacks, however, in that they're basically swimming through each other's piss and shit the entire time. Especially the ones at the back. They get the worst deal there. It's basically like if you're walking along the street or walking on the pavement and the guy in front of you just turned around and started pissing on you. Well, I guess that happens on Sauchiehall Hall Street. But this happens in these fish schools all the time, except they're basically shitting and pissing in each other's faces directly. And that actually got me thinking. Maybe the ones that prefer to be at the back, maybe they're just into that type of thing. Maybe they're just kinky. That's going to be my new hypothesis for when I go do some field work looking at this. I'm going to, the hypothesis be the fish in the back are just, a bit more kinky, a bit more likely to have little leather fish outfits on. Little ball gags in their mouths. I guess they'd be gill gags. Wouldn't that be an interesting example of tool use? Be like, dear nature, please consider for publication the attached manuscript, which would demonstrate for the first time that fish in the wild are in some fucking kinky shit. Speaking of fish news. It's recently been shown that herring in the wild actually make noises by releasing air bubbles from their ass. This is absolutely true, and the published paper, the authors refer to these noises as fast and repetitive ticks. That's right, farts. Biologists are hilarious. They think that they make these farting noises to communicate, especially when they're going into deep water, so they can't see each other, but they can hear each other's farts and know where each other are. And this is actually really fascinating for a bunch of different reasons, not the least of which is because in these herring societies, it means that not farting is actually considered to be rude and antisocial. The fish doesn't fart for a while, and the other fish are like, "What's wrong with Jerry? He hasn't farted at anyone in a while." It's like, yeah, I don't know, I swam right past me there, he didn't fart hello. I'm not going to fart with him anymore. But, so nuanced language with fart noises, tool use. I think fish are a lot more highly evolved than people give them credit for. That's why I love them. Thank you.